This is a Building Resilience Podcast, episode 185, Embracing Uncertainty. Welcome to Building Resilience, a podcast where theory, practical strategies, and inspiring stories show you how to unlock your best life. I'm your host, Leah Davidson. As a certified life coach, speech-language pathologist, and nervous system resilience expert, it is my mission to teach you how to be more resilient to life's adversities. I will show you how to manage your mind, befriend your nervous system, process your emotions, and even eliminate stress. It's time to do more than just survive. It's time to thrive. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Building Resilience Podcast. How are you doing today? What is new in your life? I love hearing from you. So feel free to drop me a DM or send me a message and tell me what's going on in your life. I'm also open if you have ideas of certain topics that you would love for me to cover. So shoot me off an email or a DM, and I love to hear from you. Now, today we're going to be exploring a topic that affects each and every one of us: uncertainty. So whether it's the uncertainty of a new job, a relationship, or even the weather, our brains are wired to crave stability and predictability. And why is that? What happens in our brains and our bodies when we face uncertainty? And then how can we navigate through it effectively? Let's first explore what uncertainty is. So uncertainty is the state of really having a limited knowledge about an event, a situation, or an outcome. It's when we don't have all the information about something. It could be about the future. It could be about what other people are going to do, or even what we're going to do, what we're going to be able to do or not do. It could be about other people's actions as well. It really is the gap between what we know and what we wish or want to know. So that is simple enough, but why is uncertainty such a problem for us? We don't like feeling uncertain. I know I don't. It really doesn't feel good. So why doesn't it feel good? It always comes back to safety and danger. Our brains are built to keep us safe. We are wired for survival. From an evolutionary standpoint, uncertainty actually means danger. So back in the day, not knowing what a rustle in the bush meant could have been dangerous. It might be the wind, or it could have been a predator. So our brains learn to crave predictability and control to try to protect us. It was really a means of ensuring safety. And when we can't predict what's going on, when we can't predict the outcomes, our brain sees it as a possible threat, and it triggers a stress response. And we start, quote unquote, stressing out. So some examples of the kind of uncertainty we may face uncertainty in our career, switching jobs. So we don't know what a new work environment is going to be like, or what our colleagues are going to be like, or how much job security you're going to actually have. Then there is the uncertainty around health. Maybe we're waiting for medical results. That can be really nerve-wracking because the outcomes are out of our control. Or maybe we have some financial uncertainty, economic conditions or job security. Investments are not often very predictable. And then within your personal relationships, our relationships within our family or with our partners can change. And that could lead to a lot of uncertainty about the future and impact of our relationship. And then, of course, there's global events. So big events like pandemics or political shifts, natural disasters, they all bring a lot of uncertainty into our lives. So when we face the uncertainty, our brain's fear center, that amygdala, kicks in. And our stress response gets activated, and we will enter into team hyper. That means we go into fight or flight. We get activated, we get all jacked up. And of course, when we're on team hyper, we lose most of our access to our CEO, as I call her, our thinking ability. Our heart rate speeds up, our blood pressure rises, the stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline get released, and we're getting ready to protect ourselves. Now, like most things, we can handle being in this state of activation for a short period of time. But we do always want to be able to come back home, so to speak, to get into that zone of resilience. If we are constantly dealing with uncertainty, then we can get stuck on team hyper, stuck in that chronic state of stress. And as we've talked about before, this chronic stress can impact both our physical and our mental health. So constantly feeling uncertain can actually make us feel anxious and stressed out and can really show up as feelings of restlessness or irritability and overall affect our energy levels. Now, as I mentioned, our CEO is also impacted. We get so overloaded that we lose most access to our thinking, which of course impacts everything: our attention, our memory, our ability to make decisions and make choices, and our ability to see things rationally. So we get stuck and often even paralyzed. An example of what this looks like could be maybe you're waiting to get an email about a job interview, and the uncertainty of not knowing whether you'll get the job can actually trigger a stress response, which will then affect your focus and your mood throughout the day. You might find it hard to concentrate on other tasks. You may feel a little bit more irritable, and maybe you're going to have a harder time sleeping at night. So uncertainty can really wreak havoc on your system. Overall, uncertainty does not feel good, and we'll spend a lot of time spinning, trying to find certainty so that we can feel better. So what are some of the things that you can do? Well, the first place you want to start, I sure hope you know where I'm going to go with this. You want to start with trying to regulate and calm your nervous system. You want to get back into that zone of resilience so that you can access your CEO. So we are always going to start with our 3 steps to regulation. Am I safe? Physically making sure you are actually safe, scanning your surroundings, taking things in. At this point, you want to be really, really mindful. Be in the present. Remind yourself where you are in this moment, in this time. Being uncertain is about being in the future. But right now, you are certainly exactly where you are. Now, the second step, do I feel safe? Likely not. Again, get out of your head, into your body. Where do you feel unsafe? Scan your body like you're taking an inventory. You're not doing anything at this point. You're just observing. You're noticing the tension, the discomfort. And as you notice, you're sending a message to your subconscious that you're okay, just observing. There's nothing to fear. And then thirdly, we want to acutely relax your body. I always suggest a ragdoll. That's my favorite one. And then mix in some breathing, because breathing is a great gateway to the nervous system. There are so many techniques that you can use. The goal is to get calm, to activate that parasympathetic system. We want to slow our heart rate down, and we can do this by focusing on things like exhalation in our breathing, a nice long exhale. It could be audible, like a sigh, or it could just be quiet through pursed lips. You can do this practice in the moment when you feel the discomfort of uncertainty creep in, but it's also helpful to do this throughout the day as like a training. The more you practice, the more automatic it will be for you. So strengthening up those pathways to get you to calm will be super helpful. Now, engaging in meditation on a daily basis can also be helpful. Again, building up our capacity, changing our brain, spending more time in that zone of resilience so it becomes more familiar, and the path to get there is well worn. There are so many other things that you can do to get to calm and spend more time in calm. Things like journaling and listening to music or playing music, movement, spending time with a friend, art, going into nature, doing something creative, getting into the present moment, focusing on things in the moment that are soothing is the best thing that your nervous system needs. Now, when you are calmer and more grounded in your zone of resilience, then your CEO can come online. And then you can start playing with your thoughts. Even changing how you perceive uncertainty can be helpful. So instead of viewing it as a threat, see it as a challenge or an opportunity for growth. This shift in perspective can actually help reduce your anxiety and increase your motivation. You can even focus on potential positive outcomes. What can you learn from this situation? That's what's called positive reappraisal, where you try to find the good in the situation. And even if it's only 1% good, because 99% of the rest feels bad, there is always that 1% to focus on. And then when you're calm and regulated, your CEO is back involved, you can try playing with some thoughts. We've already talked about reminding yourself that you're safe, but some other good thoughts that I find helpful include things like telling myself I can figure things out, and then I can think back to times that I have figured things out, and I offer myself that proof. I can ask for help is another great thought. So there are so many people and resources out there that can help me. I have choices. Nothing is mandatory. Truly, if you are an adult, you have choices. Always. Now, it may not feel like you do, or maybe you're not crazy about the consequences of choices, but you always have them. It can also be really helpful to remind yourself that you are resilient, that you can do things and have done things before. Just by telling yourself you are more resilient can actually strengthen your resilience. And then strengthening your resilience helps you bounce back from setbacks and adapt to new circumstances. Resilience can also be built through more social support, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and engaging in regular physical activity. So we can talk to friends, family, or a coach or a therapist. They can often provide reassurance and different perspectives. Then the foundation of resilience is essentially your lifestyle and habits. I like to think of it as your personal infrastructure. We're built differently and have various levels of capacity, but you can strengthen your infrastructure by doing a few things. I'm going to have a whole upcoming episode all about that. And when you strengthen your infrastructure, you're much more likely to have the capacity to tolerate uncertainty. So in uncertain times, while it may be hard to focus, it's more important than ever to focus on some of your basic pillars: sleep, sunlight, movement, nutrition, connecting with other people. And it can be really helpful to create a routine and a structure for yourself. When you feel uncertain, your brain is craving predictability. So give it a little. Create a routine. For example, think back to the COVID days. Life was very uncertain. I don't know about you, but it was really helpful for me to create some routines around daily walks and connecting with people virtually. There are a few other things that you can do to help deal with uncertainty. Firstly, you can focus on the controllables. Concentrate on what you can control rather than what you can't. We often spend so much time focusing on what is out of our control, but we do get to decide where we invest our thoughts. So what thoughts will you water? How will you respond? Because what you water grows. So you may even want to write out 2 lists: what you can control and what you can't control. And then honestly look at how much time you're spending invested on each list and make a commitment to spend at least as much time with the list of what you can control, if not more time. Next, you can take a look at your mindset. Is it fixed or is it a growth mindset? And I talked all about this way back when on a whole episode about growth mindset. So you can go back and have a listen. Adopting a growth mindset really allows you to see challenges and uncertainties for learning and development. They are opportunities for you. And this mindset really encourages you to embrace failures as part of the learning process and to persist in the face of setbacks. For example, I think of people who are entrepreneurs. They often face uncertainty in all their adventures. Entrepreneurs who have a growth mindset will end up seeing failures as feedback and opportunities to innovate and improve. And you can look at uncertainty as a catalyst for innovation. This is a very unique way to look at it, but it's a way that will likely serve you. Many breakthroughs occur when people step out of their comfort zones, when the familiar pathways are disrupted and they're forced to think more creatively and find new solutions. Now, we may not like it initially, but it can propel us to be more creative. And you can think of this, you see this all the time again in business, like the story of Airbnb. It was founded in 2008 during an economic downturn. And Airbnb started as a simple idea to rent out air mattresses. And then as they were embracing uncertainty, the founders actually pivoted, they evolved their business model, and it led to this creation of this huge multi-billion-dollar company. Another story is a story of how Post-it notes were invented. So the adhesives used on the Post-it notes was initially a failed attempt at creating a really strong glue. But what they did is they embraced the uncertainty, they experimented, they got curious with the product, and they developed a hugely successful product. So really embracing failure, embracing change, embracing the unknown and uncertainty, and courageously stepping out can actually lead to great things. Now, overall, uncertainty is an inevitable part of life. While our brains may naturally resist it, understanding and embracing uncertainty can lead to personal growth, innovation, resilience. So next time you face the unknown, remember, it's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity. So thank you for being here today. I hope it was helpful, and I invite you to stay curious, stay resilient, and embrace the uncertainty. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Building Resilience podcast. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about managing stress, building resilience, and leading a more purposeful life, then make sure we're connected on Instagram and Facebook at Leah Davidson Life Coaching. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.leahdavidsonlifecoaching.com/newsletter. Looking forward to connecting.